we enter this place in our minds, this realm, and our bodies cannot follow to this realm. And this is where the problem begins. So my problem was, for most of my life, I would, have a nice day, go out in the park all day, I'll spend time with my family, I'll go to the cinema, and I'd be doing this thing, and I'd be in the moment enjoying it. But then as soon as I gained awareness and I became conscious, I would get this dull, sinking feeling. And I'd think to myself, a question along the lines of, I'd question myself saying, there has to be more, or this isn't it, or I'm not fully living yet. I'm missing out on something. The secret answer will come. I will find it one day. And I lived like this for so long, and every day just felt sad and empty. Because no matter what happened, I just had this thought, there must be more to life. There must be more. There has to be more. And when I speak to people, most people think like this, they're waiting. When they finish college, they'll start living. When they get that new job, they'll start living. When they get married, when they have kids, when they finally travel the world. I did many of these things, and I just never felt life. I never experienced life. I never felt the secret of life. And so I started looking for answers. I started looking for answers because I thought I was mentally wrong. I thought I was sick in the mind. I thought I was ill. I thought I had problems and issues that I was seeking answers out there for someone else to fix. And I kept looking because I felt so empty and sad, despite having a normal life. And in an accomplished life, I did great things that I was very proud of. I lived my dreams, and I still didn't feel like I was living. I still felt like one day I'd live. And then I read something that was the answer. That my problem was not psychological, it was philosophical. And reading that gave me great assurance. I realized that it wasn't me, my essence, that was corrupted or ill or sick. It's not that there was something wrong with me. There was something wrong with the way I was thinking, the way in which my mind was working. And that was the first hint at light in this darkness. Many years later, I only see the light. I feel a great sense of peace. I feel happy. I don't have this weird feeling of emptiness or dullness or sadness that seeps in and is like shadow of your life, no matter what you do. So I found the answer, the beginning of the answer. And I thought that was it for many years. I thought that was the answer. That was the secret to life. This phrase here, and I'll explain it. But then many years later, I find more and more parts of the jigsaw that become the full answer of life, the secret to living, the secret to being. So it's not a psychological problem, it's a philosophical problem. What this means is there is no secrets in that life. There's no missing key. There's no magic that you are missing out on. There is nothing you are missing out on except what you have in front of you, because that is all that you have in front of you. So as long as you hold this belief, you're going about your day like I did. I'll go to the cinema and watch a film I enjoy. But as long as I had this belief in my head that there is more to life, then I'll always feel lack of. I'll always feel like there isn't enough of life because I hold this philosophical belief that there must be more. As long as I hold the belief that I'll be living when, then I'll never be living now. As long as you hold these philosophical questions and conundrums And paradoxes in your mind, as long as they exist in your mind, they have influence over the physical realm, over your body. They have influence over your life because you, as a person, are following these philosophical paradoxes and questions and conundrums, these problems. So, the beginning of the answer is to rid your mind of these philosophical questions. And this is hard. It took me a very long time to rid my mind of this. But this is the first step towards real life, real living, to real being, experiencing life fully. That's just the beginning. So, you remove this problem and just say to yourself, what you have right now is it. What you have right now is the answer. It's everything you've been looking for. And you don't have to lie to yourself. You can still be in bad situations. You can still be in a situation that you want to get out of. But you say to yourself right now, this is it. This is life. This is the thing I've been waiting for. This is the secret I've been missing out on. This is the magic I've been seeking, I've been searching for. I found it all, and it is the now. When you think like this for quite some time and you rewire the way you think, then you start to live a different way. You start to feel the fullness of it all. You stop having that weird question, that nagging voice at the back of your mind that says, there must be more to life. And this is the first step. I thought that was the answer. That's the first step. And I'll explain tomorrow more to it. It's very complex. These things are deeply ingrained in us. And I believe, that found me happiness. That found me freedom from these problems I created. It gave me the light. But then, more recently, I found something more than this. And I've found a way to conceptualize it and a way to explain it. Hopefully this first step helps you. And then move on to the next part. If you ever watched Friends from start to finish, and you've been very invested in it, on the last episode, when the screen fades to black, you probably left with a emptiness, a sadness. And I had this feeling from other films that I enjoyed, film series, and I felt this sadness afterwards. And I wrote about this in my book, and I know you're probably wondering where this is going, because how can this be the second step towards fully living? This is important. It's very important, and it relates very closely to the first step. It's almost the same concept, but described in a different way that might make sense to people. It's a different way in which the problem materializes in our life. So, the example I gave in my book was the film Stand By Me. And I know people that they watched Stand By Me and then they felt this sadness, this emptiness, and they thought, why is my life not like this? Why is my friendships not like the friendships I see in the films? And that is the problem that arises. It's comparison to these medias. But of course, you cannot compare your friendship to Friends or to Stand By Me, because these things are portrayed through an artistic lens, through actors, through scripts, beautifully written scripts, through cinematography, music, story, well-written stories. And so our lives can never live up to this. Our lives do not even compare to this. But this doesn't mean our lives are worse. It's quite the opposite. Our lives do not compare to this, like oranges do not compare to apples. But in this sense, our life is the most beautiful, incredible orange, and the films we see are just a tasteless apple. So although they're not comparable, the orange is far superior in a sense, because our lives have so much depth, so much richness. It's infinite. The depth and richness of our lives is infinite, whereas the films and media we see are not infinite, they're finite, and they're portrayed in this way through an artistic lens. And so we feel like we lack something because we're comparing our grounded reality, our visceral grounded reality, to a two-dimensional, limited, finite media. So to understand how this problem arises, it again is this place we go in our minds. This realm that is non-dimensional, it's not real, it's not grounded in our reality. It's just the realm of ideas, the realm of thought. So our imagination is a very powerful tool, and we can actually imagine emotions, feelings, life situations that are far beyond reality. But again, although they seem far beyond reality, they are not reality, they're not grounded, they're not visceral, they're not dimensional, they're not real. So of course we cannot compare our real infinite thing to just an image. That's like comparing your whole life to a picture of someone smiling. Wondering, my whole life isn't a smile. Of course it's not. It's far much more than that. It's everything. So, do not compare your life to the things you see on TV. And when you listen to love songs, of course your love will never compare to a love song. Your love is far much more than that. It is everything. Whereas a love song is finite. Once again, it is a peak, an image that the artist wants you to see. And again, you create the same problem through imagination. You imagine you so much happier. You imagine you so much more confident. You imagine you living this dream life. This dream life is not reality. But reality is a dream life. The present is a dream life. What you have right now is the dream, is the beauty. So to say comparison is the thief of joy, but we often put that in terms of comparing our lives to people we see on social media, comparing our lives to other people's lives. This is just the most obvious way in which we do that. It's the most obvious way in which the problem is visible. And it's something you don't want to do. You don't want to go on social media, look at someone who seems happy and compare your full life to that, because they are not better than you. Like I say, they are better at marketing their lives. They're better at appearing happy. They're better at getting more likes, taking better pictures, taking better reels, seeming more successful and happier. But we know this is just a flicker of life, and it's a non-dimensional flicker as well. It's a fraction of an image, whereas our lives are so visceral and real and so much depth to it, an infinite depth, like the universe. So do not compare your life to others. Do not compare your life to media. Do not compare your life to imagination. Just live, experience this day. And understanding these two parts is the first step toward understanding the problem and fixing this thing, and to fully experience life and to live. Which is good, because it feels good. It feels like an enlightenment. And it's very hard to explain this thing in simple terms, and that's why I'm making this video explaining it in different ways. And when you collect all of this into one picture, you should understand what I'm trying to say. What we're beginning to understand is that there is an illusion, and this illusion is what causes problems. And we see it quite clear with the examples I gave before of media and imagination, dreams and ideas. But there is a far greater illusion that inflicts everyone, and this is an illusion so ingrained in humanity that most people never realize it's an illusion, because it's the way society works. Past and future veil God from our sight, burn up both with fire. The past, living in the past, you'll start to feel feelings of regret, of sadness, of longing, rumination on mistakes, and living in the future, anxiety, worry, fear, expectations. Living in the past and the future will destroy you. So the past and future veil God from our sight, burn up both with fire. I've been thinking about this quote by Rumi a lot, and I keep reminding myself to burn up both with fire. You might not be aware of how much the past and the future are affecting you, how ingrained they are into your psyche, and how much they destroy you. But just think about the feelings attached to the past and the future. Think of all the worry you have, or the sadness you have, or the regrets you have, or the anxiety you have, or the fear you have, and think how none of this exists now. They only exist in the past and in the future. And in fact, if you can learn to be present, there is not much here that is worrying, that is fearful, because the past is infinite and the future is infinite. So the problems that exist in the past and the future are also infinite. And we know how powerful our imagination is. And the Stoics speak about this. They speak about the worries of the future, anxieties of the future, and how we suffer 1,000 times when we only need to suffer once, because suffering is a fact of life. Of course. But by living in the past and the future, we broaden this suffering to unimaginable levels. So the key here is to become present. And if you can learn to be fully present, then all those feelings, if you think now all the feelings you have when you're going about your day, all of these sad feelings, all of these empty thoughts, all of these worrying, troublesome thoughts that are attached to the past and the future, all of these can be dissolved. And I know this because I was very attached to the past and the future for most of my life, and I had lots of negative attachments and negative thoughts around the past and the future, and they bled into my psyche and they ruined the present moment. And the present moment is all that we have. So imagine now if you could be totally present, all of these things would disappear. The now is here. And how do you be present? It begins with a simple game, and I'll explain it to you. And once you are aware of this game, you will always be playing this game. And if you lose the game, you become present. The idea is simple. When you realize you are not present, the moment you become aware that you haven't been present, you could be driving, you could be on a bus, you could be on a walk, you could be sat at home, you could be holding your child, you could be petting your dog, you could be watching a film, and the thought comes to you and you say, oh, I wasn't present. I was away with the fairies. I was a zombie. I don't mind it. And as soon as this thought comes to you, you are then present. That is when you become present. And it is in this presence where life exists. This is where you can be. So right now I'm just talking about being present, becoming present. And I think that's a great key to life. It's a great key to get rid of all this worry. But there's so much more than just presence that feels like enlightenment. And I'll speak about that tomorrow because I just want to stay on this topic of being present. So you have entered the game now. Whenever you realize you're not present, that is when you become present. And what I want you to do is when that thought comes to mind, every few hours a day, you go, oh, I'm present now. Hold on to that presence as long as you can, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, until something drags you away. And you get better at being present. And why do you want to be present? Because you are fully living. You're not thinking about things, you're not analysing things. You just are in this present moment, and the present moment is a gift. It's the only thing that exists. The past and future, veil God from our sights, burn up both with fire. Now this sounds very important right now, to burn up both with fire and to be present. But what I'm going to explain tomorrow is something I recently found a way to explain it. Because I was thinking for so long, how do I explain this to someone? Because it's a feeling. And of course, when you try to put feelings into words, they no longer are what they was. They are a word and open to interpretation. But I've found a way, I've figured a way where you can feel this enlightened feeling, what people call being one with the universe, being cared for by a God, being a part of nature, this light spirit, feeling the essence of the universe within you. I think I have the best way you can do it. You can experience this feeling that I've felt, and many people have felt, and people call it enlightenment. So, hopefully, tomorrow, you'll feel it. And if you don't, you can go to the comments and explain your anger and explain how this guy was exaggerating. He was just talking up for a YouTube video. I'm not. I'm just trying to put things into words so you can feel what I've felt, the journey I've gone through. From feeling a certain way that you probably feel like right now, and that's the reason you click the video, to feeling this other way, which is pretty good. So, I'll see you tomorrow. If you find yourself being more present, you find yourself feeling life. And then there's this other feeling you get sometimes when you go up a mountain or hike in the woods, or you do something in nature and you get away from all the noise. And you feel something, it feels nice, and you say, oh, I better do that more often. And you never do, because the noise gets in the way, it pollutes your life, and you just get back to what you was doing. But that feeling you get when you're like at the top of a mountain, or you see shooting stars, that kind of thing, you can feel that. But that's just like kind of two-dimensional, that feeling. You can feel that in your whole being. That can be you, that feeling can be soaked into your core. And it's relatively easy to do, I think. I'll explain it. Basically, I knew how to do this for a long time, and I can feel it now. And especially when I'm present, I feel it very strongly, and it's a beautiful feeling. And I think it's what people sometimes compare to like feeling the love of God or feeling the divine power within you. People call it like an epiphany. But I was trying to think, how can I explain to someone that has none of the knowledge that I've had? And I'm not saying I'm like knowledgeable. I just mean this exact topic I've been studying for a long time and trying to understand it and reach my own epiphany or whatever you call it. And I was like, how can I just explain it to someone so simply? And so I started trying to practice it in simple terms. And I reached a really great conclusion and an exercise you can do, and I hope it works for everyone, because the people I've told it's worked for them. So this idea is, people say, how do I feel the presence of the universe? How do I completely be? Because as soon as you start thinking about it, as soon as you start adding knowledge to it, then you're no longer. Come on, heel. How do I explain this thing that once you put it into words, you destroy the essence of it? Like, the thing is something you cannot explain. It's hard to explain certain things. Like, it's hard to explain love. It's hard to explain. The great example is you can study honey. You can study it for years. The taste, the smell, the viscosity, just in text. And the day you try honey, you eat it, you go, I know what honey is now. All that studying was pointless. You can throw all that studying out the window because you never truly knew honey. And that's the same with this feeling. You can study it, you can learn about it, but until you feel it, then you know what it is. So I'll explain how you can feel it in very simple terms, perhaps. Heel. So, wherever you're sat right now, just sit in silence. It's hard to do at the start with a lot of noise going on around you, because it takes a lot of concentration on being present. But sit wherever you are, if you're in your garden, if you're on a bus, wherever it is, and just pick an object to look at, something that's typically described as nature or described as beautiful is easier. So the first thing I ever did it with was a tree. But you can do it with anything, I'll explain that further. And you look at this object, or this thing, and you look at it as if you look at the face of a loved one or someone you are familiarising yourself with and you become more familiar with. So you look at a grandparent or a child or a wife or a husband, and you look at them and you become fully familiar with them. You become very familiar with them. But you're not analysing them. You're not saying, their eyebrows are this thick, their eyes are this colour, their faces looks like this, they breathe like this, they look like this, they sound like this. No, you are just feeling their being. You're just taking them in, you're soaking them in without judgment, without description, without explanation. And you're just taking them in. So you do this with the tree or the sky or the houses, whatever you want to look at, or a car, and you just take it in without judging it. You just get really familiar with its friendly face of a loved one. And you do this for a few minutes and you start to feel, whoa, I'm present. I can feel the essence of this thing. Even an inanimate object or a tree, I can feel the essence of this tree. It's beautiful, it feels amazing. I'm here with the tree. And then you can expand this to your whole moment. So the wind that's passing through my arms right now, passing through my fingertips as I'm filming this, the cars that are passing me by, the cold, the sky, the lights in people's houses, the windows, everything, the essence of it all. And you can familiarise yourself with it and understand the beauty of it. You become very familiar with it. and you feel it, and you keep just feeling it as you would familiarising yourself with a loved one, and you start to feel the essence of life. And it feels peaceful, it feels amazing. It's hard to describe. I don't really want to describe it because then you destroy it. But just try it. And then you get better and better at this. So you can do it in all situations. Like I'm doing it now. I sit on buses, I do it. I'm at work, I'm doing it. I'm trying to do it in every moment. And the idea is, maybe at one stage in my life, I can feel this forever. And I don't know what the feeling is, but when you're in it, life is very special. Let's not label things, it destroys it. The most impressive fact in man's spiritual, intellectual, and poetic experience has always been, for me, the universal prevalence of those astonishing moments of insight, which Richard Buck called cosmic consciousness. There is no really satisfactory name for this type of experience. To call it mystical is to confuse it with visions of another world, or of gods and angels. To call it spiritual or metaphysical is to suggest that it is not also extremely concrete and physical. While the term cosmic consciousness itself has the unpoetic flavour of occultist jargon, but from all historical times and cultures we have reports of this same unmistakable sensation emerging, as a rule, quite suddenly and unexpectedly, and from no clearly understood cause. To the individual thus enlightened, it appears as a vivid and overwhelming certainty that the universe, precisely as it is in this moment, as a whole and in every one of its parts, is so completely right as to need no explanation or justification beyond what it simply is. Existence not only ceases to be a problem, the mind is so wonderstruck at the self-evident and self-sufficient fitness of things as they are, including what would ordinarily be thought the very worst, that it cannot find any word strong enough to express the perfection and beauty of the experience. Its clarity sometimes gives the sensation that the world has become transparent or luminous, and its simplicity, the sensation that it is pervaded and ordered by a supreme intelligence. At the same time, it is usual for the individual to feel that the whole world has become his own body, and that whatever he has not only become, but always has been, what everything else is. It is not that he loses his identity to the point of feeling that he actually looks out through all other eyes, becoming literally omniscient, but rather that his individual consciousness and existence is a point of view temporarily adopted by something immeasurably greater than himself. The central core of the experience seems to be the conviction or insight that the immediate now, whatever its nature, is the goal and fulfillment of all living. Surrounding and flowing from this insight is an emotional ecstasy, a sense of intense relief, freedom and lightness, and often of almost unbearable love for the world, which is, however, secondary. I'm going to wrap this video up here. I was just doing a pull-up workout on the park. I've just started a challenge for myself, and I was nowhere near completing the challenge. I've seen it all the way through for the hour, but I didn't get anywhere near what I wanted. Anyway, I'll be doing many more of these videos, although I'll be having interesting guests on, very wise guests, very popular guests, in a more natural environment, so that you can see their truth without all the stuff in the way. You know, normally when you get these VIPs, when you get these people on, there's normally like camera crews and then there's teams and there's a setup, and it's really like distracting. So that's my goal. Just let me know if you like this video. Really, it's finally morning. I realised I was filming everything at night, but it's finally morning, and what a beautiful morning. So the main takeaway is just try to be present. Keep that in your mind. If you keep it on your mind, I think after, I found out about being present years ago. I was reading Alan Watts like years and years ago, and then finally this year it clicked with me. So it took a long time. I was just keeping it on my mind, but I think it's the most important lesson I've ever learned. So good luck and enjoy your day. It's been about a month since I filmed this series of videos, and I've been implementing everything I spoke about in this video. I've been implementing into my life and experimenting with it, putting it to the test. Because I don't want to just put information out there if I don't actually use it myself and find it useful myself. It's just hypocritical. I think a lot of times we can fall for that, is hearing advice that sounds good or sharing advice that sounds good, but it might not actually be good in practice. It just sounds good in theory. So I've been implementing this stuff and real world examples, and it's been drastic in my progress as a person. I've learned so much, especially, I've been doing a course for a while now on Jung. I've been learning more about Taoism and Zen, Buddhism, as well as the Stoic literature that I'm always reading. I'm currently reading Donald Robson's book actually on Socrates, very interesting. But I've had a profound realization, and this method I've been talking about works so powerfully, and anyone can do it. It's difficult at the start, like I said. It's kind of like at the start you try and do this thing, and I'll get into what I mean in a minute, but it's like fighting the waves, fighting the stream of a river, and you're trying to force it back, and if you keep concentrating, you can stop the river flowing for a while in your mind, and you reach this place. And this place I'm on about in the previous series of videos, you reach it, and then you can really hear your inner works, and you can learn a lot about yourself. But before I get to that, before I get to what I was saying, I just want to have a quick word about the sponsor of this video, which is Huel. And specifically, I've been enjoying Huel Daily Greens every morning because it tastes nice. It's easy, very quick and easy. As with all the Huel stuff, it's very practical and efficient, and all their products taste really nice, and I just feel good having it. I feel really good having Daily Greens, and it's full of 91 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced nutrients. So when I have Huel Daily Greens, I feel like I'm just being a healthy guy. No, I just feel good in general, and I feel confident that I'm getting everything that my body needs when I'm consuming Huel. So if you have any interest in Huel products, click the link in the description. I'm very thankful to Huel, because this stuff takes time and money and everything. And also, this setup, this was supposed to be a podcast setup, and if you're regular to this channel, you realise that I haven't got the nice setup. I've normally got like cameras and lights and everything, but been having building work done, and everything's been moving around. So I've been doing this on the phone. Hopefully that's all right. Still the same information, and I actually kind of prefer it. I feel like I'm more natural with it, and maybe the information might be slightly better. It's not delivered in a better way, unfortunately, visually and audio wise, but it is useful information anyway. So here's the point, right? I'm doing this thing, and I'm thinking, I want to put it out there. I'm like, oh, this idea sounds really cool. The viewers will think it's really cool. And I thought, is it actually useful? So, anyway, I get in a bit of argument with someone, or maybe not argument, I get upset with someone, angry, irritated, because they're saying stuff, and I want to be hurt by this thing. I want to retaliate, and so, I can't remember what I spoke about in the previous series of videos, but the idea is that the hurt is like a child, and it doesn't really know how to resolve the pain. Kids just cry and scream and wait for an adult to fix it for them. And that's kind of what we do. We think that more pain will resolve the pain. So we seek more pain. It's a weird concept, but you'll notice yourself doing it once you understand it. So I wanted to, my natural resolution is not really based off of conflict. Mine is to sort of feel sorry for myself and go, oh, they're wrong, I'm right, and just be sulking for a while and making life worse. And it's just like a natural instinct. And people do this, people want, fuel more drama, more anger and this kind of thing, because for some reason our instinct is this is how we deal with it, because that's how we've always dealt with it. We learned this as a child, and when we're in pain, when we're angry, when we're sad, we just sulk and scream and cry, and then an adult will fix it. And these parts of us haven't matured. So what you want to do is treat these parts like a child, and love them and accept them and listen to them. Anyway, so I'm angry and upset, and I'm like sulking, and I'm like, stop being an idiot, or stop being like that. I'm trying to teach you about this concept, and I'm a victim to this concept. So anyway, I sit there on my own at night, annoyed, and all that, and I'm like, let's just enjoy the universe, because I can do it all the time, but when I'm angry and upset, it's hard. It's very difficult, because I just want to be like, shut up, I'm not doing this. And I'm like, okay, I feel it, and I'm getting present and seeing the beauty. I'm just sat in like my storage room, whatever, I don't know what you call it, where to store stuff, storage room. And I'm there, I'm trying to appreciate the moment, get present. It's very difficult. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this, pointless. I'm annoyed, this isn't gonna help. And I keep going, no, I'm telling people to do this, I need to be able to do it. Because people live on this stress level that I'm at, this sort of state that I was in for a frequent time. People live like that for most of their days. So how can I say to someone, you do this, that I can normally do, when I can't do it when I'm in a state like that? That makes sense. And I'm there, trying to be present, trying to appreciate the universe. And eventually, it is like holding a stream back. It's very difficult. Like the stream's raging, and you're there, and then eventually it stops and it calms. And then you let the universe in, and you feel the now, and it's beautiful. And I just sat there feeling this feeling. As a physical sensation, it's a hurt that I had. It's like hair, and it's hair. It's like a tornado of hair, and I'm just feeling it. Not really judging it, just accepting it, listening to it. And I came to the conclusion that the person was right and I was wrong. And the reason I was hurt is because I knew they were right, and this is a part of me that they'll criticize, and a part of me that I maybe hide, not just from the world but from myself. It's my shadow. I refuse to believe it exists. And Jung says that it's the things that have the most negative reaction from us, that irritates us the most, that rubs us up the wrong way, it's usually when a situation or a person is projecting our shadow. I'm not going to get too much into Jung, because it's a bit complicated if you've never done any research into Jung. But the point is, doing this idea, this thing that I was talking about, this concept, I realized I was completely wrong. And if I didn't do this, I would get in this cycle of conflict every time someone criticized this thing about me. And then I made a plan to change this. And it's something I've worked on and I'm fixing. I'm not saying I fixed it, but it was one of the most beneficial things for me, to just be angry, to allow myself to be angry, to allow that, not to refuse it or deny these feelings. Because if we don't fight the world outside, the war begins within, as they say. And that's what I've been doing my whole life, is running from these things, denying them. Don't deny yourself. These feelings are real, and anger has a role to play in your life. Sadness has a role to play in your life. Jealousy, all these things, they have a role to play in your life. You can't deny them. They're a part of you. You just need to learn to let them grow into a healthy manner. Because when you repress them as a child, you're told this thing's bad, this thing's bad, this thing's bad, and you repress them as a child, then they've been left alone since childhood. So they're still not matured. You've never experimented with them in your life. Most of my life I never even acknowledged that anger was real. I was always calm, never bothered. That's not true. Everyone experiences anger, whether you like it or not. The calmest person in the world gets anger, and to deny that anger is to just repress it and act like it never exists. So my point being is, this worked. I know I'm teaching about it and saying how good it is. Put it into practice. I've been putting it into practice every day, pretty much, and it's so beneficial. I was just doing it right now. But anyway, I've got some really good guests coming up, people I'm going to speak with. Donald Robertson, that's why I'm reading his book. I mean, I was going to read his book anyway, but I'm in a rush to read his book about Socrates, really interesting. And I've got some other really great guests coming up. I'm excited to share them. I won't say who they are in case they fall through and then you're left in anticipation. You wanted this person, you wanted me to talk to this person. Anyway, if there's people you suggest you want me to talk to, leave a comment. I'm beginning off doing them on Zoom because I can't get to America and stuff like that. It doesn't fit within my life, it doesn't fit within my budget. So I'm doing most of them on Zoom. If I can get people in the UK, then I'll do them. I'll try do them anyway. It's still expensive to get to London and stuff and set up these things. But I try my best to get people on and talk to them. So let me know who you want on. And let me know if the quality bothers you for this video. I don't think it should. But I can't be the judge of that. Maybe it is distracting. But I think feels more real, more authentic. Anyway, again, thank you to today's sponsor of this video that helps with these projects. Helps me with all of these projects and the lifestyle. Huel. I do really like Huel. I really like their meals. I like their drinks as well. Their vitamin drinks are really nice, and their daily greens are really nice as well. So if you have any interest in Huel products, click the link in the description. And a big thank you for everyone that's just joining in on this. I really just want to help improve people's lives, and I can't do that if you don't listen. Which is give and take from both of us. I need to put things out there, you need to listen, we need to work together to make sure I'm staying on track, making the right content, not falling for the trap of the algorithm, trying to make things that get views, you know. I'll continue to make content that I think's helpful. And if you watch, then that's the views. There's the logic anyway. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, whatever it is. And if you have any helpful things to say, criticism, advice, suggestions, leave them in the comments, or even, I don't know. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening. I don't know why I'm clapping. I normally do that to sync up, but I'm recording this on my phone. I don't need to sync up anything. Phones for the future. They need to create like a... Anyway, you don't want to listen to this. Bye bye.